Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm taking a look at Morgan Le Fay's new uniform and seeing whether she is worth that premium cost of those Halloween tokens, if she provides you any value in any specific mode, and if that is worth or enough for you to pick up her new uniform. This video is likely not going to be too long, and it probably won't be that interesting for some players, so to kind of spice it up a bit, I'm going to be giving away up to 60 crystal coupons, which have about 300 crystals on them. And if you want a chance at those, all you have to do is leave a like on this video, join my Discord, you can find the link in the video description, I'll try and pin it as well, and leave a comment in this video with your Discord name, so if you do win, I know who to give the crystal coupon to. So getting right into it, the first thing that I tested the character in was actually World Boss Ultimate, since she was T2 before, and that would be a stage 99 of Thanos, followed by a stage 99 of Cull Obsidian or Black Dwarf. For the majority of the testing, until I say otherwise, I don't have a damage proc on the character, and I'm simply using a CTP of Authority. Despite no damage proc, I was actually able to complete Thanos pretty quickly, finishing in under 2.5 minutes, and then on Cull Obsidian, I was able to finish under 60 seconds. Because she finished those stages remarkably quick, when I took her to T3, you don't really notice too much of an improvement, only about 20 seconds, because she's already near the cap for the boss's kind of animations and cutscene restrictions. The stat increase with the T3 isn't anything too special. She does get a decent amount of energy damage increase, being around 11,000 for me. However, the HP increase for her is quite lacking since it's only 15,000, and for most other characters it's well beyond that, probably somewhere closer to 18, 20,000 or even much higher than that. If you're going to build the character specifically for PvE, then your only real option is a CTP of Rage, mostly because the majority of her skills have a delay cancel on them, so if you want to make the most out of her skills 1 through 5, you kind of have to go with a CTP of Rage, despite the fact that she doesn't have guaranteed crit rate. As I mentioned, most of her skills can be delay cancelled and cancelled, meaning that you can pretty much stack up skills 1 through 5 on the enemy and have them all do damage, which is likely one of the reasons why she was doing so well versus the World Boss Ultimate stages. Even though the character doesn't have guaranteed crit, she does have boss damage, additional energy damage on her uniform passive, a self debuff, which is nice to not get locked down, as well as chain hit damage. Offensively, she also has a 40% damage increase on her 4th skill, damage accumulation on her 5th skill, and a single skill damage proc on her 3rd skill. For survival, she does have that team debuff, as well as 20% healing on the 4th skill, and the self revive. I almost forgot to mention that she does have the 50% all defense down that ignores immunity, which isn't really too high, but it does increase by 10% for every hit, so it can stack up pretty quickly, which is another reason why she was doing so well in the World Boss Ultimate stages. One of the other things that she's missing besides the guaranteed crit is the ignore dodge, and you'll see the significance of that when I take her to higher stages. However, that doesn't really factor in the lower stages, and you can see that because I was able to clear stage 9 of Knull without any leadership or supports, besides herself obviously, in under 2 minutes. Because she did so well on a stage 9 without a damage proc, I had to take her into a higher stage, but I did add in leadership and supports to make it a little bit more fair. So that would be a stage 29 of Knull. Oddly enough, I wasn't actually able to clear this stage, although I did get pretty close, and with a slightly better build, I probably would have. However, it's strange because I was able to clear stage 9 so quickly, and I wasn't able to on stage 29. And the reason I say that is because for a similar character like Kamala Khan, I was able to clear stage 9 very quickly, and I was also able to clear stage 29 with about 60 seconds remaining. However, I wasn't able to do that for Morgan Le Fay. I'm not really sure why I got a result like this, since I was expecting for her to finish very similarly with about 60 seconds left. However, if I would have to guess, it would be because she is missing ignore dodge in her kit, whereas Kamala Khan isn't, and she does have about 35%. So as I touched on previously, the character is really good at the lower stages. However, the higher you go, the more difficulty she has, because more of her hits will start missing, so that chain hit damage and all of the skills stacking up on top of one another won't be nearly as effective. If you're wondering on a rotation for her, with something like a Rage, you would do 4 delay cancel once the animation starts, so once that hex pattern kind of starts finishing, then you go into the 5th skill and you delay cancel that after the camera goes up and the kind of dagger appears. Then you can do 1 cancel, 2 cancel, and then finish off with the 3rd skill, which you don't cancel and just let play through, since it does have a single skill damage proc on it, which would otherwise be lost if you go into any other skills. When you have your ultimate, you can basically open with it and then go back into the same rotation, or if you don't have it filled, you can basically start off with the 4 delay cancel and 5 delay cancel and then try to weave in the 6th skill. Basically, you just want to use it whenever you have it in the rotation, since it can be cancelled almost immediately. If you are running a single skill damage proc, which again I wouldn't recommend, you can just use the 3rd skill and immediately cancel to transfer that proc to the last skill, which will likely be your 5th skill after you do a 4 and delay cancel into the 5th skill. If you're feeling a little bit more risky, you can also try and cancel in the 1st and 2nd skill before going into the 5th skill, and then with the ultimate you can do the same, but just immediately cancel the 5th skill and try to go into the ultimate. For PvP testing, I equipped a mighty CTP of destruction for her with additional damage instead of the top proc, and because of that I decided to take her into a stage 35 of Knull to see if she could beat that stage. I was able to finish the first phase in under 2 minutes, which means that she can complete this stage even though I didn't go through with it. The clear time isn't really that great with the destruction and likely would have been substantially better with the one that has the top proc, since it does give you the ignore dodge that she needs. However, again, a single skill damage proc isn't really that great for her, but she can do this stage with it. Another nice thing about the character is that she has a flurry of CC effects, including stun, silence, paralysis, fear, bleed. However, she is missing burn, so you can't really use her for all the seasons in Alliance Battle Extreme. Despite that, the character does have the rare universal female villain tag, which means that you can use her for any of the days that encompass those, as well as use her as a support for universal types. I'm not entirely sure if she is meta for the universal female days. I'm pretty sure that Supergiant is still the top option there. However, she isn't too far off, and she does help your score for Supergiant when you pair her with something like Proxima. You can see in this clip on the no requirements, I was able to score almost close to 9 million with that CTP of destruction, which I didn't really even try to proc properly, so you can definitely get a lot more than that. And with the CTP of Rage, I'm pretty sure you can easily break over 10 million or more with a maxed out build. On the PvP side, I initially tested the character with a regular CTP of Authority, and I found out that it didn't really help her too much. I could have upgraded it to a mighty CTP of Authority with the Steel effect, since she does have 30% damage mitigation in her kit. However, I don't think that would have helped her much, because she would have to survive long enough to fill up that proc to activate the Steel effect, and that wouldn't really have happened for 2 main reasons. One of them is because the Invincible wouldn't have been enough to save her. Most opponents have penetration to all sources now, and additionally because she doesn't really have too many things in her kit to avoid damage. Most of her skills are kind of slow and take a little bit of time before they go into an actual iframe to avoid any damage further. You can see that in these first few clips versus Sentry, Doom, and then following with Gore. She basically opens up with the 5th skill, which doesn't really help her out because she's just standing there, and then she'll often get cancelled out of it and try to go into the 4th skill, which is much better because it does give her a little bit of iframe. So that's basically the reason that I went with a CTP of Destruction, and I guess that's what I would recommend for most players as well, because the Authority didn't really seem to help her much with her survival, and because she has low health, a CTP of Regen won't really help her out too much either. However, I noticed that with the Destruction, because she has 2 lives, you basically have 2 chances to be able to proc on the 5th or most likely the 4th skill and be able to one-shot the opponent. You saw that in the first 3 clips where I was using a CTP of Authority, she didn't really do much of anything and was luckily able to take out just 1 life of Sentry. However, with the destruction, she was able to take out Thanos on her 2nd life, and was able to even take out Warlock when his Steel effect procced with that CTP of Destruction. I was fortunate enough to get some testing for her in Alliance Conquest, and as you can see from this clip, I'm not really using her with the most ideal team, nor am I using her to benefit universal types. I mostly just wanted to see what her solo potential was, and whether she could at least wipe the characters like the Warriors of the Sky, or potentially even be able to beat them. In the first clip, she was able to just wipe the team and not beat them. However, in the second one, she was able to take out all of their first lives, and then with her 2nd life was able to survive their awakenings and beat the team entirely. In the following clip, I also tested her versus the Eternals, and she wasn't able to solo them, but she did get pretty close, which shows you that her value is pretty good, especially when you pair her as a support on another team, since you can use it to wipe out some opponents quickly, considering that she has some big lingering AoE damage and works really well with that proc. If you're wondering what teams to use her on, you basically want to pair her with a strong universal leadership. So that would be characters like Hyperion, Athena, Ultron, Scarlet Witch, and even Knull. From there, I would recommend using another universal character that has iframe ignore, so that would be someone like the Mini Nova or even Captain Marvel. Alternatively, if you use a leadership that applies to everyone, you can also use a character that has self-debuff in the 3rd position, such as Falcon, for example. Overall, I think the character will have the most value in things like Alliance Battle Extreme and Alliance Battle Legend as supports there, and also as a debuff removal support in things like Alliance Conquest. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this uniform to most players, since unless you're really pushing those Alliance battle scores, you won't really notice too much of her value, and she doesn't seem to perform that well on higher stages of content because of the lack of ignore dodge. The people that play Alliance Conquest will likely get the most value from this uniform, since she basically acts like another Wasp character for your universal teams. With that said, she'll likely be relegated to a support function, and for most people, they'll likely just put a CTP of Insight on her and just use her for support. So if you're trying to save money in crystals and you don't really need this support, then you can skip it. Anyways, that's the review for the uniform. I was hoping that she would be a little bit better standalone. Even if they made her transcended, she would have way more value in PvP. However, she basically just ended up being sort of like Black Cat with her uniform. In other words, basically a support. Don't forget, if you want a chance at those crystal coupons, make sure you join my Discord, and then like this video and also leave a comment underneath this video with the username of your Discord account. Good luck to everyone for that, and thanks for watching, but the video is now over.